Hello and welcome to another Gospel Project recap video. This week it's another really well-known story. It's another one of those stories too that has multiple recordings of it in the Gospels. We're going to look specifically at Matthew 14 and look at that instance where Jesus walks on water. And so the story goes, it's actually like a follow-up. So last week we did the feeding of the 5,000. Immediately after that, kind of what happens is Jesus kind of sends the crowds away, and even sends the disciples, he tells the disciples to get into a boat and go across the lake, with the implication being that Jesus is going to go do something and then he'll meet them on the other side of the lake. And so Jesus goes up on a mountain and spends the night in prayer and spends the night with his Father and spends the night kind of resting and just in some silence and some solitude. Meanwhile, the disciples are on the lake, and this lake was how my understanding is how some lakes work in that region of the world is storms can just kind of pop up, and they can be very, very violent, very, very dangerous. And despite the fact that these guys were fishermen, this storm kind of popped up and they were having no luck in navigating the boat to get it anywhere. And so Jesus is up on this hill or up on a mountain, looking down at the lake, sees the disciples struggling, and just kind of watches them kind of do that all night. And this is in the fourth watch of the night. Jesus decides to go out there, and so the disciples are in the boat. They look out at the churning sea and see what they believe to be a ghost walking towards them. And so they're freaking out and all the things that you would do if you thought you saw a ghost in real life. And then Jesus yells out, "Don't be afraid, it's me." And they're still kind of freaking out. And then Peter, as he is often one to do, says, "Well, hey, if it's really you, Jesus, let me jump kind of before I think about it. Let me come and walk out on the water to you." And Jesus is like, "All right, come on out." And so Peter kind of wraps his clothes around him and hops out of the boat and walks on the water towards Jesus for a few minutes. But then he takes his eyes off the Lord and he looks down and sees the churning sea and realizes hey, this is really bad, and starts to sink. And then Jesus is there and grabs him, and they're both in the boat. And Jesus' kind of statement to his disciples is like, "Hey, again, why were you afraid? Don't you know that I've got this?" kind of a thing. And we talked about this before when we've been doing these miracles of Jesus, but these miracles, as cool as they are and as awesome as they are and as helpful as they were for people, a lot of the healing ministry miracles and things like that, the miracles also do the very important job of showing the world that Jesus is God. Only one who created the water, only the one who had the control over the way the water was moving, the way the storm was moving, and even control over things like physics, could walk on the water in the middle of a storm and then speak to the storm and the storm be still, because that's how the story ends. And so this miracle is there for our benefit and for the people who would have initially heard the story to be a reminder that Jesus is God. And so that was really one of the things we're going to focus on with your kids. Was the big idea for them was just Jesus showed that he was God by doing this. It was one of those miracles that when Jesus does it, it is proving his claim to be God. With students, we're going to go a little bit of a different direction and talk about how, because Jesus is God, he has control over all of life's storms. The idea being, if Jesus can calm a storm with a word, if Jesus can walk on the water in the midst of a storm, doesn't it stand to reason that he is in control of everything and can take care of everything, and that anything we would come up against in life, Jesus can help us navigate through. Jesus has the power over those things. And so those are the things that we were going to focus on this week. And so there's some coloring sheets available for you, some discussion questions, leader guides, all that stuff on the Gospel Project page of our website. For the students as well, on the student ministry page will be this video and some links to be able to download some resources there. I do hope this is encouraging to you. You can be the primary discipler of your child in this season. While we can't do Sunday school or Awana or the things we would normally provide for your kids and for your family, you can do that, whether it's teaching them this lesson or just reading the story with them and talking about it. You don't have to do a lesson. You can read it and talk with them about it and and walk through all of that together. I believe you can do this. I encourage you to do this. I'm excited to see how you're doing this. But until I see you in person again at one of our worship gatherings or in the next video, God bless.